This video is going to cover section 1.3. It's going to correlate with your My Math Lab assignment number 2. We're going to be talking about slopes of lines that are passing through 2 points. The standard notation for slope is the little letter M. Slope means change in y over change in x. The formula that you'll use in many cases is right here. M is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. It doesn't matter which y you begin with, you just have to be consistent on the bottom with the x. But remember, y is always in the top. This symbol means change in y over change in x. Sometimes in your high school courses you've talked about rise over run, but all of these refer to slope. The first thing we're going to do is to find the slope of the line that passes through 2 given points. Now remember, we have the formula. I'm going to label this as x1, y1, so this will be x2, y2. Now, using the formula, I'll have y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Now, negative 7, negative 5 becomes negative 12. You remember that this negative changes the next sign to a positive, so I have 4 plus 1, which is 5. Now there's my slope, negative 12 over 5. Two things to remember. One of these is from the last lesson. The equation for a horizontal line. Now remember, a horizontal line is named with a y. Remember the opposite. You would think it would be x, but it's y. Y equals some number. Now the slope of a horizontal line is always 0. Always 0. Think about the horizon. The slope of a vertical line, now remember, when you think of vertical you think of y, but it's named after the other one. It's always x equals some number. The slope of a vertical line is undefined. It does not exist. And that's because if you tried to use the formula, you'd have 0 in the denominator, and you can't divide by 0. 4 little graphs for us to remember. You read a graph from left to right. If you see a graph with a line moving upward, then the slope is positive. If the line is moving downward, the slope is negative. If you have a horizontal line, remember, the slope is 0. If you have a vertical line, the slope is undefined. Now, if we look at this problem, you'll have one of these on your homework. They give you a graph and they want you to find the slope. Now remember, I'm looking for the change in y over the change in x, and I'm going to use these 2 points that were marked. So I'm going to count these y markings to where I would turn to get to this next point. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it's a negative direction, so negative 7 over, count your x's, 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 7 over 4. That would be my slope. Okay, we're now going to look at a couple of examples. These next two are kind of tricks, but if you know them, they're going to save you a lot of time. They won't happen a lot, but they will happen. Given 2 points, and here are your 2 points, negative 2, 5, negative 2, 6. Find the equation of the line. Now the trick here is that, look, that's an x, and that x are the same numbers. Now when that happens, the equation is just x equal that number. Now if you'll think about this, if a line is x equal, that means it's a vertical line, and a vertical line has an undefined slope. Okay? If you sketch this at negative 2, 5, and negative 2, 6, you have a vertical line. Now if you'll just remember from the page before what kind of slope these lines have, that was very easy. If you could not remember that, then you'd put the formula in and have negative 6 here for slope, negative 6 minus 5 over negative 2 minus 2. So that would be negative 11 over, now this sign changes to a positive, so negative 2 plus 2 would be 0, and you can't divide by 0. Alright, the next one, if you'll notice the 2 points, both of them have a y to be the same number. Therefore, the equation for this line is y equals -3. Now, for that line, a y equal, you would think that would be a vertical, but it's the opposite. It's going to be a horizontal line, and the horizontal line always has a 0 slope. If you sketch these, you've got 5, -3, and 2, -3, and there is my horizontal line. Okay? Now, let's get away from the tricks and look at the actual problem. If you're given an equation in basic form and it asks you to write it in slope-intercept form, that means we want to solve for y. So I'm going to move the 2x over. I'm going to divide by -4. That's a plus. So I'll have y equals 1/2 x minus 2. Now that is my slope-intercept form when you have solved for y. Now, in this form, the slope is always the number in front of x, so that's 1/2. The y-intercept is always the number on the end, but remember from lesson 1, a y-intercept is a point, so it's an ordered pair, where x is 0, so that number goes there. Now, if we want to sketch this, we're going to use that information. We're going to go to the y-intercept, plot that, and then remember this is change in y over change in x. So I'm going to go up 1 and over 2. You may have learned rise over run, and if it doesn't matter, that will be fine to use that. And there would be my line.